Hi everyone, today I'm doing a rewatch and recap of Twin Peaks, the first season, and I'm on to the finale episode, episode 7, or episode 8 if you count the pilot, and it has a title called The Last Evening. I've only just found out that these titles were not originally attached to the series by the creators, but were given to the show by some television networks. So the title's relevance can be disputed, if you like. It's not really an important thing. Before we start this episode, I was just going to say that, you know, I remember watching this when I was like, I must have been 12 when this aired, and it was such a shock. The newspaper reviews of the episode were urging you to watch it because something exciting was going to happen. I had no idea, and when at the end of the episode, which I'm going to get onto, I was just in shock, and I thought that what happened at the end of the episode was going to change the way that the future episodes were going to look forever. So it looks like we're starting in Dr. Jacoby's office. The supposedly relaxing scene of the palm trees, you know, in his office. I think it's more to relax him, to be honest, because if I went into a psychiatrist's office that looked like that, with a psychiatrist dressed like that and talking like that and acting like that, I'd be totally freaked out. Donna and James have sneaked into the office and are looking for some kind of incriminating evidence, and he just has weird things all over the place. These little umbrellas. I guess that kind of thing that they are finding with the umbrellas seem to be, they're either, I assume that they are Dr. Jacoby's and not something that he makes his patients do. And if that's the case, then why does he have them in his office and why not in a personal location at home? Maybe I'm being a bit of a square, but yeah, I just think Dr. Jacoby is a little bit inappropriate in his conduct and the way he conducts his business, perhaps. But then again, maybe that works for some people, maybe that would work. Nice jacket. It reminds me of something. Okay, somebody's hitting Dr. Jacoby and pretty savagely looks like they want to kill him. Whoever, you know, is doing that is obviously seen Madeline dressed up as Laura too. We get this close-up shot of Dr. Jacoby's eye, kind of freaky. It's like a look of confusion and terror, which then pans into this roulette table. Okay, so Cooper is pretty suave at One-Eyed Jack's. He has so much confidence. He, you know, he wants to sort of show that he's not frightened of Jacques. He's playing the part really well. Audrey looks like a lamb to the slaughter. You know, she does. She looks like, you know, dressed up in this weird kinky negligee. She looks beautiful, but she's clearly uncomfortable too. Audrey is as good as playing a part as Dale Cooper is, actually. So Cooper is trying to find out what Jacques' involvement was on the night that Laura died, and he basically just says, you know, I know this happened, and is waiting to see Jacques' reaction to that. He has Jacques, you know, like a fish on a hook. So Jacques recounts the night Laura and Ronette were at the cabin, and it sounds really sinister and unpleasant, you know. We get this slowed down account from Jacques, and it's sort of highlighting the most gruesome aspects of what Laura and Ronette did. This sort of degrading sexual behaviour. And Cooper looks, he has this steely mask on, but you can see in his eyes that he is so angry and upset too, because there's almost, his eyes look glassy, as if he, you know, feels like he wants to tear up as well, hearing about what Laura did to herself. Get this shot of Audrey, and she looks kind of bewildered and a little bit afraid, looking around the room at One-Eyed Jacks. Here's Shelley's washing her hair in it looks like the kitchen sink, and Leo turns up. So these fishing analogies continue. Got a trout on the line, and you know, Cooper's going downstream, and it's pretty funny. Actually, the fishing analogies continue through other episodes as well. Harry looks pretty intent on getting his man there, and he finally does something right for a change after a series of blunders, and he looks like he has finally realised his place in the Force and the power and skills that he has. So it's pretty upsetting when James, Donna and Madeline play the tape that they find, Laura's tape that she recorded for Dr. Jacoby, and she says on the tape that she thinks that James is dumb. And you can see from James's reaction to that he is incredibly hurt by that. He obviously had a relationship with Laura that he thought was really true and deep, and that he knew all that she was thinking and feeling, and quite clearly that the fact that she has been so demeaning about him is upsetting. But none of, you know, James and Donna, neither of them really look surprised to hear this kind of thing from Laura. You get this uncomfortable kind of transposition of Laura talking about sex and how this guy can light her fire, and then suddenly she says, oh, Mom's coming up the stairs with milk and cookies. So James says to Donna that he's glad that he heard Laura saying this stuff about him, because he might have spent his whole life thinking that, you know, they had something different, they had a different kind of relationship, and that he might have pined and held on to Laura for the rest of his life. And they realised that Dr. Jacoby was not the person that they think he was. They come to the conclusion that he wasn't trying to hurt Laura. He was actually trying to help her in his weird kind of way. So Leo has Shelley in this position where he is torturing her, and he's threatening to go and kill Bobby, and he wants Shelley to think about what she has done to him by having her affair with Bobby. And he cries out, "You broke my heart," which is just pure ego talking, really. I mean, it has to be, because the guy is a stone cold animal, really, and you know, he's done so many things. He must have had so many other women himself. There is clearly no kind of devotion to Shelley. It's just about wanting to control her and wanting her to bow down to him. He's a complete bastard, really. He is a complete bastard. There's nothing more you can really say about that. And I wish that Shelley was a bit more empowered, because she's so scared of Leo. You know, she's in that position where she appears to think that she has to live either in a state of fear with Leo, or a state of fear running away from Leo. And you just wish that she could take some power back for herself, you know. Okay, this is the saddest scene when Nadine, she kind of makes her suicide attempt into a big ritual. If you are depressed like Nadine, I would imagine that, you know, you would probably, looks like she's spent a lot of time thinking about this suicide, to have everything arranged and set out in the precise manner that she has done it. And And it's just very sad to see her have to go through that. I don't know, but I've always thought that the relationships between Josie, Hank, Ben, Catherine and the Packard brothers has always been a very convoluted storyline, which I find difficult to follow. I don't know if anybody else has that problem, but it sort of takes a lot of thinking about who's double-crossing who. You know, Hank and Josie right now are in this sort of blackmailing situation. Josie is another character that is sort of subjugated by men, and that makes me sound like a bit of a feminist, but you know, that's quite a recurring theme in Twin Peaks. And you know, it's not only about money and power, it's also about sex. Okay, we get this interesting insight into Catherine and Pete's history because of the fact that I assume every viewer from the beginning of Twin Peaks has been asking themselves why are Pete and Catherine married, because they are so different. The backstory, which is explained that she was kind of a rich girl and he was a bit of rough for her, and not the kind of guy that I imagine her family would have wanted her to go with, or to be with. Andy is recounting the story. All the boys at the station are recounting the story of Andy's heroism. Lucy looks kind of as if she's trying not to be impressed. It's pretty sweet, their relationship. Almost like a couple of children. So we get this story from Jacques Renault about what happened to Laura and Renette, and what happened to him on the night of Laura's death. We get a little more about the story. You know, it seems to incriminate Leo, but at the same time, I think that you get the sense that there is something more to the story than just Leo being responsible. You know, even though that Norma supposedly loves Ed, she really urges Hank to confess that he loves her and how he feels, you know, how he thought about her when he was in prison, and she really wants to hear that. So clearly there's part of her that still is interested in Hank and still feels for him. She wants him to, I guess she wants him to be something that he's not, because clearly he is spinning this line about dreaming about that he was with her and all this, and it's just to keep her sweet. We get this amusing scene of the invitation to love, reflecting what has just happened to Leo, with him being shot. Catherine's pretty steely, appears to think twice about whether to save Shelley. So we see Leland go into the hospital and smother Jacques Renault. This looks as though that, you know, Leland looks so grief-stricken and as though he really wants to punish the guy who killed Laura, and at this point it looks like Jacques is the one who has done it, along possibly with Leo. But all the same, it's pretty shocking to see Leland do something like this because of the fact that he, you know, is a grieving father. And when we see his face as he's smothering Jacques, he looks completely in pain and as if his whole body and soul are racked with pain. However, then he hears the alarms in the hospital, and immediately it's like the expression changes on his face and it becomes one of self-preservation, basically. What can I do to get out of this so no one catches me? The weird seamstress hunchback who's sewing the card onto Audrey, the playing card. That's rather an odd character to just insert in there, and obviously Audrey looks completely shocked and terrified when her father walks into the room. This moment of calm just before Cooper goes into his hotel room is a nice way to lull the audience into thinking that we've reached the end of the episode and not much more can happen. You know, Cooper's ordering warm milk and he's going to bed, and basically that's going to be it. We get this mysterious phone call that Cooper receives and looks really serious, and then we see Cooper get shot multiple times, which looks like something that you couldn't recover from, to be honest. So it's quite a shocking end to season 1. As I said earlier, when I first saw this episode, I was really frightened that Agent Cooper had been killed. The character has so much charisma and charm that really can't imagine Twin Peaks without the character of Agent Cooper. A lot of action in this episode, with the fire at the mill, the murder of Jacques Renault, James being set up by Bobby, Bobby being nearly killed by Leo, Leo trying to kill Shelley, Hank basically setting up Josie and getting one over on her, and all the action at One-Eyed Jack's. There was also things like, you know, smaller scenes such as Nadine's suicide. I mean, that was a very short scene. We didn't get to see anything else of the character, but that scene was so memorable and so haunting that it stands out in the episode. The presence of Leo as this never-ending kind of bully is very disturbing to see. And when he gets shot, you kind of think, he looks like he's not going to die, because it's not really a bad shot. He only gets shot once, I think. And I get a sense that, you know, the story with Leo as the main suspect of Laura Palmer's murder now, he's obviously not going to die. Some of the characters that you really feel for in this episode are James, because of what he had to hear Laura say about him on the tape. After he experienced this, it was like Donna was very protective about him, but at the same time James always seems like a character that is going to be struggling in life, if you like. It doesn't seem to have any kind of badness in him, James. He seems like a very nice guy. I kind of thought that Norma was a bit of a sap this episode. I'm sorry to say that, but she is kind of similar to Shelley in that, you know, she's been with this criminal guy, this a little bit of a bully. I guess he's not, you know, an abuser in the way that Leo was or is, but he has, you know, done a lot to wreck his relationship with Norma, clearly, and the fact that Norma has put up with it for so long, you can't forgive that of the character, because she's clearly unhappy, and she clearly wants something else, because she's looking to Ed for comfort. But at the same time, she sort of has this needy thing about, yeah, tell me how much you missed me, tell me what you hoped and dreamed for when you were in prison, and I'll believe you, which is kind of naive. Really a lesson that she should have learned by now, that Hank is just a liar. So the comedy moments in this episode revolved around Lucy and Andy mainly, and the fact that she admitted that she was pregnant to Andy. The comedy level in general was pretty low. It was more of a dramatic and traumatic episode. A great ending to season 1, and a lot of storylines that you really want to know what happens next. You can subscribe to my channel if you like, for news videos about the upcoming Twin Peaks series in 2017, season 3. I'm also going to be doing some more of general videos talking about the series and related issues to the series. So if you want to stick around for that, please subscribe. And you can also find me on Twitter at @thelogsadie. My name is Emma if you want to talk to me, and if you want to comment below what you thought about the season 1 finale of Twin Peaks, I would love to hear that. And until next time, goodbye.